Hey, this is Web3 Talks. The rule of this podcast is simple. We only talk with people who have hands-on Web3 building experience. So if you are a hacker, entrepreneur, or investor, you can get inspired by their stories, lessons, and fuck-ups. My name is Mac, and I'm hosting this pod. If you want to stay in touch, go to twitter.com/Web3Talks, click the link in the pinned tweet, and join our Discord community. Let's go. Today's guest is a special guest because most builders that we have here have been building for the last year, 2 or 3. But Auston that we have today is a real crypto OG. He has been building QuickNode since 2017, which is totally different era, like even 2 different eras ago. And the company has been serving developers since its inception. QuickNode provides a network of nodes so the dApps can run faster and get cheaper maintenance cost. And it also provides analytics so developers actually understand how users use their apps, which is kind of important. And big at big, they are being used by projects such as Dune Analytics, OpenSea, Coinbase, and many, many more. But before we get to the product and the story, like how you build it, Auston, like, could you tell us how you ended up in this space?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually first learned about Bitcoin here in South Florida at a meetup that was run by a friend of mine named Michael Greenberg. It used to be called Hack and Tell. And I went to this meetup and he pulled out a computer and he said, "This is my Bitcoin mining rig." And he's like, "There's a digital token. It's called Bitcoin and it's worth money. Everyone should mine it. It's going to be the future." And then I said, that seems like a scam, but cool. And, that was my first introduction to Bitcoin. And then a friend of mine named Dan actually ended up living with me sort of unofficially because he was a friend of my actual roommate, Igor. And Igor was letting Dan stay with us rent free. And so Dan was actually the CTO of a company called Bitstop here in Miami. And that got me more into crypto. So Dan would always buy pizza and food and order delivery with his Bitcoin. And so he ended up buying a TV from me for 2.5 Bitcoin at one point.
Okay.
And then I learned about Etheruem in 2017, and I started, learning more. And I started evangelizing it to some of the people I work with. And at one point, some of the people I work with were like, "Oh, we should do a project." So we did a project in 2017, early 2018, and that went really well. And then it didn't because it was crypto winter. Meanwhile, 2 of my friends for some time, Alex and Dima, were working on this project called QuickNode. And they were incessantly saying, "Hey, you should come join us and work on this with us." And it basically took them till early 2019 for me to be like, "All right, I'll join." So I actually haven't been working on QuickNode since 2017. I've actually been working on it since 2019. But I've known about the project since it was born. And so whenever my first crypto company, which was called C-Blocks, sort of just imploded, or it didn't really implode, it just died slowly and turned into something else. I went and I got a job, and then that ended up with me working on QuickNode in my free time. And yeah, I've been here ever since.
Okay, I guess your friends might have spent quite a lot of money on these pizzas if we, look at today's prices. But I think that it was worth it, as we can see. Could you introduce QuickNode to people who might not be familiar with your product? Like, what's the story? Why this company has been even started?
The company was actually originally started because my co-founders were having trouble getting into ICOs. So that is initial coin offerings. In 2017, there was a boom of initial coin offerings, and they just were struggling because the providers that were backing MetaMask and my Ether wallet or whatever weren't holding up against the traffic. So they wanted a way to have their own. So they did that. But what QuickNode does at a high level is actually provide blockchain access to read and write smart contracts and transactions from 14 different blockchains at the time of this podcast. And so if you need to read or write transactions from, like, let's say Ethereum or Bitcoin or Avalanche, Solana, you could either run your own infrastructure or you could use something like QuickNode.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you have joined after the first few months, but do you know what's the founding story, like how they started the first few months? Was it only for them, or have they shared the product with their friends to also take part in this beautiful investment of 2017 ICO summer?
Yeah, absolutely. So they have, I think it's 20 years of experience running infrastructure generally. They ran a managed service provider, like a data center, for a really long time. And so, they had expertise here that allowed them to get this built out. And that was good enough to share with other people. So they started taking signups basically immediately.
Okay. How does it work on a technical level? Because we know what's the value proposition, how it helps people, but what's under the hood here?
Yeah, without giving too much away, the gist of it is we run blockchain clients. So, for instance, Geth or Open Ethereum or Aragon or Bezu in multiple locations around the world. And we share those resources with customers. That's like the high level of it. We do other things like making sure that we route to the nearest location to make sure that latency is very low. We do things like indexing. So we compute caches basically, and then we do actual caching. So if a request comes in and then another request comes in immediately after that for the same exact data, then we return the data from the first request.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like some very basic things that we do. And then there's like some secret sauce stuff that we don't really discuss publicly.
Yeah, obviously. So in some sense, it's at least part of your product works like content delivery network. Like, it makes all these apps load much faster and work faster. Did I get it properly?
It's not a bad analogy. I think, a content delivery network is like relatively static, but we're dealing with data that updates every second in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
or even multiple times per second in the case of like Solana. So it's a slightly different problem, but I guess to the user, maybe it could be considered that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Today, among your clients are, both Web3 companies such as Twitter, PayPal, and Web3 clients like Chainlink, OpenSea, Fireblocks, and many, many more. But let's go back in time a little bit to the time when you were just starting and you weren't such an established player in crypto ecosystem yet. How have QuickNode acquired their users and what worked and what didn't work? Apart from these users, like friends and family that wanted just to use the product because they were intrigued. But I'm wondering, like users more like, people who really, I might even say like B2B users. I think this would be a proper definition.
I think just by existing, we were able to get customers, right? So like there was already people having this problem and we just existed and they found out about us, right? So like that's like kind of not really a great answer, but that's like, let's say the first 20 or so, right? But also in that first 20, there's like just emailing people, right? So meeting the people in the community, like Taylor from, I think it's my Ether wallet, my co-founder Dima and her used to, exchange messages quite a bit as he was spinning up the business. And we also attended hackathons, right? So like going to like ETH New York in 2019, we were able to like, really see how people figure out what endpoints or providers they want to use. And, that helped us get some more awareness. And we just continued to just try to find people as much as we could. And then we started adding ourselves to like Web3 SDKs. And yeah, that got us to like the 100 mark, right? I think that helped us get some good customers and some good traction early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from marketing playbook point of view, it looks like you just, like the first thing that you've done was that you were fishing where the fish were, basically. So going to these hackathons and emailing people directly and being part of SDKs is, basically where your clients were. So it makes perfect sense. And was it easy to get a partnership with SDK to be part of it? Or was it, a long process or something like that?
typically SDKs have a pull request process. So sometimes they are not extremely excited about a pull request that's just essentially, adding free marketing for a particular project. But if we made it value add so that,
Hmm.
those particular SDK users were able to get up and running faster or something like that, then that would be helpful. And then some SDKs are just not extremely open to the idea of working with us, right? So Ethers is one that we still are not listed on the documentation because I guess Rick doesn't like us. I don't know why, but we're trying our best to make that work. But yeah, every other possible provider is listed there, but we're not.
So fingers crossed when it comes to your, persuasion to be
Yeah.
included. Because like at the end of the day, it's a, partnership. So it's kind of hard because partnerships are always about people. Like there's like one person or 5% that make a decision to either get you on board or not. So I guess it's sometimes complicated to make it happen. As you mentioned before, you support 14 chains already. And I know that doing anything for more than one chain can be super hard because, there are different even languages, but like different, everything is different and there are many things that can go wrong. So I'm wondering like, how have you made this happen? Like what helps you to support so many chains already?
Yeah. I would say the first thing is customer demand, right? Customers are very vocal about what they want. But beyond that, we have very well-defined software processes around supporting a new chain, right? So we have software that helps us support it quickly in the user interface, software that helps us quickly stand up nodes and benchmark them, software that helps us very quickly generate documentation for them. So we're very, very, very focused on automation in that area so that we can support more chains as we need to.
And it's your software, you have written it, or is it some?
Yes. Yeah. It's proprietary.
Okay, so that's okay. So this is one of your ingredients of your secret sauce, I guess.
Correct.
Could you tell us also about things that, went wrong? Like, you thought that it's a good idea when it comes to implementation, but it turned out that it was just a dead end street and it was, something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about a dead end street, but I could tell you a story from 20, I believe. It was either the Berlin or the London hard fork or something. There was like some network upgrade, and we had a bunch of dedicated nodes. So, dedicated nodes are nodes that are a VPS with a copy of the blockchain on it. And so we had a bunch of those, and they were all running on their own VPS, and they all needed to get their software client upgraded, and we weren't using any of the automation tools that we were today. And we didn't catch the upgrade until like the day before. So we ended up writing a script to try to go onto all those machines and replace the client, et cetera, et cetera. And that worked for most of them. But then there was like, I don't know, 40 or 50 that like there was like 500 blocks left or something like that between us and the upgrade. And we still needed to get those done. So we had every single person that was working at the company at that time manually, cover some portion of those 40 dedicated nodes and log in, download the client, restart it, make sure the client restarted. And yeah.
Okay.
So like that's a very old story, but it was definitely something that went wrong.
Yeah. And regarding this client acquisition, did you have any, ideas that you thought were very good, but it turned out that, in practice, it was just something that doesn't make sense?
With regards to IC tools?
More like acquiring your clients, stepping one step back, like, something where you thought, okay, like this is a great idea. I don't know, like let's buy beer to every developer on a hackathon and something like that.
Yeah. So I would say, and this is a little bit general, but I would say that trying too many things is something that can not work, right? So like if you have like, let's just say 2 or 3 methods that work really, really well, right? Like let's just say having a email newsletter, going to hackathons and getting in SDKs, then adding additional stuff like buying Google AdWords or doing like a partnership with a venture capital firm or whatever, won't necessarily work because you don't have the attention to put into those channels. Basically, every channel that you have, you need to really have someone super duper focused on making sure that channel is profitable and growing.
Especially when you're starting and you have like 4 people in the team, and sometimes people read these marketing books and think, oh my god, but like IBM or like I don't know, Google has this kind of marketing strategies, but they have 500 people in marketing team, so it's definitely easier to manage that. So what worked for you, like to summarize it, was more doubling down on the things that worked and just trying to master the channels that worked for you.
Exactly.
Okay. And you started, like the QuickNode started in 2017. And this means that you went through 2018 hype, the following soul crushing bear market, now the last 2 years of a crazy, crazy bull run. And now we are probably entering bear market cycle, as most people think. And how have you found building in these two different market types? What were the differences between, the way you work, the way you plan?
I mean, nothing really, right? The story is always the same for us. Talk to customers, understand what they need, and build it. The only thing that happens is there's more demand in an upcycle. That's it.
Okay. And regarding just organizing the team, the growth, investing, do you slow down a lot in the bear market? Just focus more on, run rate and.
Well, I mean, in the previous bear market, we were only 4, right? Or 5, 6, something like that. And so, like we just didn't grow as quickly, right? That's all. In this bear market, so far, we're not slowing down hiring, right? We're continuing with our hiring plans, and we have very clear plans of what we want to do with our time and money. So it's not really affecting us. We're investing into the downturn.
Okay. I've heard that right now that so many developers are coming into space that even if you get a bear market, there will be a lot of demand for your services. And what I learned, at least from my friends who worked in, Web2 companies like Facebook, Google, and so on, because the stocks that they get are less valuable. They are more curious about Web3 because the salary drop isn't that harsh. So a lot of them enter, even though people say that the market is crashing, builders are more resilient to these price cycles, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I personally see it is basically that like the price of assets is going down, but the amount of developers and customers that we're seeing is still going up every single day. Like we're still growing double-digit % every single month. So,
oh God, that's like a rocket ship, level of growth rate. As far as I know, you at this point, you still use centralized services like, cloud providers like AWS, Google Cloud, because, they provide superior performance to the centralized ones, at least at this point in time. So I'm wondering, do you plan to decentralize in long term? And if so, like what needs to happen so you can do it?
We don't really have any plans to decentralize. We're a traditional company at the moment. Who knows what the future brings, but that's definitely not something that's on our radar at the moment. We have a bunch of different product improvements that are coming down the pipeline that we're really excited about. We're supporting a bunch of new chains that I can't really talk about, but yeah.
Okay. It will be one of the most secretive interview we had so far. But I know that, you get a lot of going on and a lot of things that you do are, your secret sauce. So, in the last few days, I've learned that you acquired ICOs. It's like an NFT analytics. Could you tell us, like, why have you acquired this tool and, like, how do you want it to integrate it? Obviously, like, as much as you can tell.
Yeah, of course. So we spoke with the IC Tools team as they were a customer and we saw increasing usage. And we started to just like talk to them about what they're building and what we're building. And we compared roadmaps and it was just a really, really high level of overlap. And we're like, rather than compete, why don't we join forces, right? And so, we rolled them into our org and we're now in the process of integrating. There's a lot of customer demand on our side asking like, how do we make use of IC Tools data? Can you, share this with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in the process now of making sure that all the IC tools data is available through the QuickNode APIs. When that will roll out, I don't actually have a timeline because we just started. But the hope is that before the end of the year, we have it fully live. And if we're lucky, we'll get something done in the next, month or two.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it will be like the next, year or two, if we get into bear cycle? Do you think it will be a good time for acquisitions? Because, I remember that I have some friends among VCs and they were just horrified about these valuations. You had like pre-product, pre-idea project that wanted like $10 million or something like that. So I'm wondering if it won't be a good moment to acquire companies for, company with such solid fundamentals as yours.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we maintain a strong cash position and continue to grow, I don't see any reason why more acquisitions wouldn't make sense for us, right? I don't know that we have any planned, but we are focused on making sure our customers get everything that they need, and we're going to do that however we can.
Okay. So, we are getting till the end, and I have traditional questions here. Traditional to this podcast, not traditional in a more broad sense. So, what has been the most mind-blowing project in Web3/crypto space that you have seen? Something that just, made you inspired or just even surprised that someone has connected the dots in that way?
I mean, I've seen so many.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think two that stick out. So one of them is a customer of QuickNode. It's called Circles. So it's a universal basic income project. So they literally are just minting money and creating a circular economy where people are using their free money to, buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend that you check that out. And then another is, I forgot what it was called, but the concept is what really got me. It's a lossless lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's called Pool Together.
Oh, yeah.
It's the one where, like everyone makes a bet or whatever, right? And then the winner gets the interest of the combined pool, and then everyone gets their money back.
Yeah, it seems to be something that incentivizes saving a lot and gives you a little bit adrenaline rush, if you want. I've seen it and I really liked it because it kind of like reverses the whole lottery dynamic.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool one. I'll try to think of one more before.
Okay.
I think Maker and or Compound are both underappreciated. Those are very interesting ecosystems that have a lot of... Oh, actually, you know what? Skip that.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are cool, but Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash is one of the coolest.
Actually, I tried to understand how it works. Not just on general level, but I couldn't get it. But it's so amazing that you can just, I've heard this joke because someone on Twitter said that, because isn't it cool that Elon Musk is buying Twitter and it's such a Web3 ethos where, the most active users have impact on the platform. And someone said, oh, so you think 0x Sifu should own Tornado Cash? And, this is a really crazy tool. And do you know how does it work? I know that it just mixes all these transactions, but...
Yeah, at a high level, it uses ZK snarks to ensure that the owner of the funds is able to withdraw those funds. And then, of course, the pooling is what allows that ZK snark to be worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the gist generally.
Okay.
I read the white paper and I've been a user, but there's other parts that are interesting, right? So how do you withdraw funds without having Ether balance in your wallet? So there's the relayer ecosystem there, right? Which is where third parties will finance the, transfer and management of the, deposit from Tornado Cash to whatever new wallet you have, and they'll do it for a fee. So, that's another interesting part of Tornado Cash. But yeah, generally it's really cool.
Okay. And what has been the funniest thing that happened to you? Something that made you smile, laugh, or just, surprised you?
I think, one time I was at a hackathon and I met Vitalik, and I was struggling with a smart contract that I deployed, and he was helping me out. And I actually had deployed two versions of the same contract, but I didn't realize it. And he thought that for just a moment that the blockchain was broken, that the EVM was not working as intended. But it just turned out that I deployed one smart contract with a method and the other without it.
Okay, so you almost made Vitalik just really stress about finally someone destroyed Ethereum. Okay, and so as we are getting to the end, where people can learn more about QuickNode, like should they go to your website or Twitter or newsletter, or what's the best place to learn about it?
Definitely, you should follow QuickNode on Twitter. That's like the number one. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Bunsen, Bunsen. And then check out the website, quicknode.com.
Yeah, I found it very well documented. Like your website is very clear. And even though like I don't have experience with nodes per se, because I only I coded, but like not on this level where I needed to use nodes just by myself. I had some software doing it for me. I found it super easy to understand, like your value proposition and all the info. So if anyone here is building tech product for developers, you should look at QuickNode and see how well it can be done.
Yep. And what I'll do is I'll get you a discount code that you can put in the podcast notes or whatever.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So guys, like look at podcast notes and just get a discount. I think you have some really good trial option. So it's almost risk-free to try it out. So that's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. We provide a 7-day trial, but it is rate limited to curb abuse. So if you are hoping to, really ramp up, then the discount code that I provide will be great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Auston, like I have one question that I always ask, and it's, do you have any ideas for guests that might be a good fit for this kind of conversation? Someone who already built something that's, successful. It can be a small success, medium, or a big one, but already have, experience that they can share with other builders.
The Dune people are awesome. Have you interviewed Matt?
Oh, no, but I love Dune. Like this is one of my favorite products, like something that really gave me this Web3 light bulb moment where I could just understand that I can just look at the data. So he would be a great fit.
So that's one. And then the other one is Etheruem. Etheruem is really great.
Okay, that one I don't know. So could you tell a few words? What do they do?
Etheruem is a new SDK for building on Ethereum.
Okay. So that's an important tool. Okay, so Auston, like thanks a lot for sharing all that info, and I will ping you for this discount code to put in the notes. So thanks a lot, and have a good day.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, Mac.
Hey, bye-bye.
Talk to you later.